Imagine a bustling medieval city, not London, not Paris, not even Rome, but a place so hidden in the foggy marshlands of Europe that many people today can hardly point to it on a map. Yet in the 14th and 15th centuries, every gold coin, every luxury cloth, and every fortune made in Europe somehow passed through its warehouses, its counting houses, and into the hands of clever merchants who understood one secret: controlling trade meant controlling power, and controlling information meant controlling everything. Tonight, we uncover how this small city, Bruges, quietly became the Wall Street of the Middle Ages, shaping banking, credit, global commerce, and the rise of empires. You'll hear about Italian bankers who arrived with nothing but a ledger and left with influence greater than kings, about ships loaded with silk and silver sailing into tiny canals, and about the financial tricks so advanced that they're still used in modern banking today. So get comfortable, close your eyes if you'd like, and let the quiet tides of history drift you into a peaceful sleep as we reveal the forgotten money machine that once ruled Europe's richest century. You may find yourself sinking into a worn seat of stillness as you journey backward into a world of quiet canals and slow commerce. It is the late 1300s. The night air in the port of Bruges settles like a blanket over the water. Lanterns flicker along narrow cobbled streets, their soft reflections gliding in the dark ripples of the canals that once connected the wealth of the world to this modest Flemish town. Today, you and I walk beside a man who is both ordinary and pivotal. His name is Matteo di Rossi. He is a banker working under the influence and authority of the great Medici network. And tonight, he's thinking about wool coins, cargo lists, and the strange destiny that has made Bruges the financial nerve center of Europe. Matteo is not a brave knight, nor a flamboyant merchant prince. He's a man of gentle posture and meticulous habits. His hands are always ink-stained from ledgers. His mind constantly measures risk. He notices things like the weight of a gold florin on a scale and the smell of damp parchment. Yet he is one of the many invisible gears in a system that has begun reshaping the medieval world. Bruges has become the meeting place, the crossroads between Italian innovation, Flemish production, English wool, and the precious metals arriving from the expanding trade routes. Bruges did not set out to become powerful. It simply existed in a fortunate place. The North Sea gave access to the wide world beyond. The rivers reaching inland carried goods deep into continental Europe. Long ago, fishermen lived simply on these marshy shores, unaware that deep under the water, in the shape of tides and soil, destiny was forming a harbor. Over time, traders from England, France, the Baltic, and especially Italy arrived seeking opportunity. With each arrival, Bruges grew more important, and a city that once smelled mostly of fish slowly began to smell of wool, wine, pepper, beeswax, ink, fresh coins, and ambition. Matteo often walks through the main marketplace on his way home from the Medici counting house. By day, it is a thriving scene. Bales of English wool stacked like sleeping beasts await the skilled hands of Flemish weavers who turn rough fiber into priceless cloth. Cloth merchants with their sharp eyes and thicker purses haggle beneath the pointed rooftops of the guild halls. Fishermen shout prices for their morning catch. Women selling dairy goods chatter in the Bruges dialect, a language Matteo has learned but never quite mastered. But tonight, the stalls rest in silence. There are only echoes of commerce, creaking, wood, a distant water wheel turning grain into flour, the faint clanking of chains from ships unloading late cargo at the harbor. The Medici and other Italian bankers see patterns where ordinary traders only see goods. Patterns of exchange, trust, risk, and opportunity. Matteo has learned that Bruges is not really about wool or spices or ships. It is about credit. Anyone can trade one thing for another, but only a sophisticated society can trade promises about the future. In Bruges, promises have become as valuable as gold. Inside the counting house, The day's work repeats with soothing predictability. Matteo sits behind a wooden table blackened by years of spilled ink. Before him lies a heavy ledger, sheets of parchment ruled into neat columns. Each line represents a life, a voyage, or a debt. There are merchants from the Baltic who promise payment in furs and beeswax. English traders bring not only wool but tall tales about distant lords. Flemish weavers ask for loans, hoping that next season will be profitable. Every transaction is written carefully, every risk measured. Bruges guilds, strict in their regulations, keep quality high. Weavers here produce some of the finest cloth Europe has ever seen. English wool arrives raw but leaves as luxury, thick, soft, and richly dyed. A single bolt of Bruges cloth, deep crimson or royal blue, can be worth more than a farm, and so gold flows in. Silver flows in. Letters of credit pass between hands, making it possible for goods to move even without coins physically present. This invisible money, written on paper, becomes the true lifeblood of commerce. Matteo sometimes marvels that these simple parchment sheets, stored carefully in chests, can determine the fate of kingdoms. He reminds himself that every mark of ink must be perfect. A single miscalculation could ruin a merchant. A single dishonest debtor could topple a house of finance. He feels the weight of that responsibility, but its predictability also comforts him. Unlike kings who risk their lives on battlefields, Matteo risks everything quietly, silently calculating inside his mind. During midday breaks, Matteo walks the canals. He watches the boats glide slowly beneath stone bridges. He knows that many of these goods have traveled weeks or months, across angry seas, past pirates and storms, just so that someone here in Bruges might write a number in a ledger that makes everything seem real. At the harbor, Matteo hears many languages: Italian, French, English, Low German, even voices from distant Scandinavia. Bruges has become a place where strangers trust each other, because money forces them to trust each other. Politics still casts its shadow. The Flemish countryside is not always peaceful. Rival powers, the Duke of Burgundy, the King of France, the English crown, tug at economic control like children fighting over a prized toy. But Bruges remains neutral enough. Whoever rules, money must move. Cloth must be woven. Banks must keep their records. It is stability in the midst of competing ambitions that allows Bruges to thrive. One evening, a merchant from Lübeck rushes into the counting house just before closing. His cloak is heavy with snow. He slams his hand on the table, demanding an emergency loan to repair a damaged ship before the coming freeze traps his cargo in ice. Matteo listens calmly, reviewing figures. The Medici can lend the money, but the interest must reflect the risk. The merchant nods. A quill scratches numbers into the ledger. The loan will save the merchant's livelihood. Matteo knows that decisions like this, small, careful, and countless, are what fuel the entire economy. Bruges' growing wealth attracts those seeking stability. The city builds great houses, markets, and almshouses for the poor. Bells from towering churches toll across the rooftops. Visitors marvel at the bustling quays and storerooms stacked with barrels of wine from Spain, dyes from Italy, olives, salt, copper, and ceramic goods. They remark that Bruges feels like the center of the known universe, even if many maps put it merely at the edge. Back home at night, Matteo lives simply. His rented room above a cooper's workshop is warm enough in winter, and he keeps a small fire burning low to save on wood. He writes letters to his family in Florence, not about his modest accomplishments, but about little things: the weather, the taste of the local cheese, the odd humor of Flemish jokes he doesn't quite understand. His mother worries that the damp northern climate will be bad for his health. His father wants to know if the business has found loyal partners. Matteo assures them he is careful. That word summarizes Bruges itself. The city is careful not to pick unnecessary fights. Careful to protect trade privileges. careful to keep its harbor functioning, even as shifting sands threaten to choke its access to the sea. Engineers and laborers dig channels, maintain dikes, and haul mud away year after year. A port is a living thing. It must be nourished. Matteo knows that nothing lasts forever. He has heard whispers that new channels opening near the village of Dam could change trade routes. But these concerns feel distant. For now, Bruges thrives. Its wealth rests on centuries of habit. Traders expect to come here, so they do. The more they come, the more essential Bruges becomes. In the evenings, Matteo sometimes watches ships unload by torchlight. He notices mundane details, how bales of wool are stacked so they don't absorb seawater, how barrels are rolled efficiently by men with strong arms, how every item has a place and purpose. It all feels strangely soothing. When life is reduced to predictable steps, accounting, shipping, waiting, the mind can rest still. Beneath that calm surface lies something transformative. Bruges is not only managing wealth, it is creating systems, invisible structures of trust that will outlast kingdoms. The Medici established branches across Europe, connecting Bruges to Florence, London, Venice, and beyond. If a merchant needs money in one city, he can receive it in another. Trade becomes faster, safer. The future starts to matter more than the present. Promises become a currency that reshapes society. For Matteo, the world expands quietly through numbers. He learns that English wool profits might dip next season due to conflicts with France. He sees that Flemish cloth demand rises in Italy. He hears rumors that spices from the East are becoming more available through Venetian networks, and that wealthy nobles want more luxuries than ever before. Every piece of information becomes a calculation. On slow days, Matteo takes the long route home, wandering past the imposing water hall, the grand trading hall. There, civic pride is displayed in architecture, towers reaching upward as if attempting to join the clouds in conversation. Inside, transactions echo across high vaulted ceilings. It reminds Matteo that commerce is not just money, it is imagination. A Flemish weaver imagines better cloth. A merchant imagines demand far away. A banker imagines profit in a number written beside a name. These imaginations flow together, forming the quiet miracle of economic growth. Winter deepens, and the canals shimmer with thin layers of ice. Matteo wraps his cloak tighter as he walks. Yet inside the counting house, the atmosphere is warm and steady. A Devon wool supplier finalizes a major deal. A group of Florentine merchants discuss exchange rates. Matteo copies figures by candlelight. His quill flicks gently, controlled and steady, like the ticking of a mechanical clock. He overhears news from abroad. Milan struggles with political strife. Venice negotiates shipping rights in the Mediterranean. But here, business continues patiently. Bruges benefits from not choosing sides in distant rivalries. Gold from one city fuels expansion in another. Banks profit from arranging those flows. Matteo sometimes wonders if anyone will remember the quiet clerks and bankers who kept Europe's heart beating through trade rather than war. Kings are remembered for battles, merchants for riches. But men like him operate anonymously in the margins of history. He is content with that. He believes order and prosperity have their own kind of heroism. Spring arrives. Fresh cargo returns to the port as sea travel becomes safer again. The first English vessels of the season bring wool clipped just after winter. Matteo examines samples, soft fibers, clean and promising. He approves a large purchase on credit, confident that cloth makers will transform the wool into something remarkable. He signs the letter with a steady hand. The cycle continues. Bruges' growing role as financial hub attracts ambitious minds. Scholars come to study accounting. Artisans perfect their crafts. Innovators discuss new ways to measure credit risk. Matteo attends occasional meetings with other bankers. Topics such as conversion rates between silver and gold, trustworthiness of foreign borrowers, and the future of maritime insurance are discussed calmly, as if these abstract subjects are everyday matters. In Bruges, they are years pass. Matteo remains diligent. His reputation strengthens. He trains younger clerks in the art of careful observation. When he writes his own finances into the family ledger, he notes modest comfort. Not wealth, but security. He invests in small shares of shipping ventures, enough to bring a little joy, but not enough to threaten his stability. He sees that Bruges itself reflects his philosophy, cautious ambition, but, like the slow shifting of tides, the world begins to change. Matteo hears increasing talk of Antwerp, a port downstream on the Scheldt River. Its waters are deeper. Larger ships favor it. Some merchants quietly divert cargo there. The transition is gradual, too slow for Matteo to feel alarm. Still, he notices days when the counting house seems quieter than usual. One evening, as he stands by the harbor, he watches a ship redirect toward a different channel. He wonders if Bruges is losing breath. Yet candles still burn in the guild halls. Bells still ring. Cloth continues to be bought and sold. These signs reassure him. Everything important moves slowly. Matteo grows older. His hair grays slightly at the temples. His handwriting remains steady. The ledgers pile up, entire volumes documenting decades of patient growth. He remembers arriving as a young man, anxious and determined. He thinks about how his work helped strengthen the hidden financial web connecting cities across Europe. He has witnessed the rise of Bruges' wealth, built not by force, but by trust. Sitting by his window at night, he reflects on how curious it is that a small port, surrounded by quiet marshes, became one of the most influential places in the medieval world. It was not the biggest, not the loudest, not the most glamorous, but through careful commerce, Bruges became the crossroads of continents, the place where futures were traded before most people believed in futures at all. The secret, Matteo knows, is that Bruges turned risk into opportunity. It turned wool into wealth. It turned ink into gold, and as he warms his hands near the soft glow of the fireplace, he also knows something else, that the wealth of Bruges, like the tides, will one day recede. Antwerp may rise. Other ports may surpass them all. But the systems built here, the idea that commerce can be organized, that promises can move mountains, will persist. Even if Bruges' importance fades, its quiet influence will echo through time. The boring routines of counting houses will eventually shape modern banking. The invisible trust networks will help fuel the Renaissance. And the ledgers Matteo has filled, those careful numbers, will become fragments of the foundation on which global trade stands. Outside, the night deepens. The canals reflect moonlight once again. Matteo closes his eyes, breathing in the comforting scent of wool cloth and ink. He has lived a life defined by knowledge rather than attention, by subtle contributions that sustain the world. In that stillness, Bruges continues its quiet work, holding Europe's wealth not through conquest, but through connection. And you now understand how a small medieval port controlled Europe's prosperity, not by yelling its name across history, but by whispering its influence through every transaction that passed gently through its hands. Thank you so much for spending your time with me tonight. I hope this gentle journey through forgotten history helped you relax, unwind, and drift a little closer to sleep. If you enjoyed this quiet storytelling, and you'd like more soothing tales from the past, please take a moment to like this video. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Quiet Boring Sleep. Your support truly helps this calm little corner of YouTube continue to grow, so more people just like you can find peace, rest, and a soft escape from the noise of the day. Sleep well, and I'll be right here whenever you want to explore another sleepy chapter of history. Good night, and thank you for being here.